So if we start with your PGG,
Okay.
we will see that you're Silver 2 with a 48% win rate over roughly 90 games. Um, Looking at your KDAs, they seem okay. They don't seem like they're ridiculous one way or the other way. Like, they don't seem like they're 1 or 7. So that's good. You seem to have like 2 to 3, which means you're not a KDA player, is the point that I'm getting at. Or at least it
hmm
doesn't seem like that. One thing that's concerning is your top laners. You have 52, 54% win rates. But your mid laners, you have 43 and 43 again on Ori and Ari. And then you don't really have other mid laners in your like your PGG. So that's kind of concerning. Um, why do you think you have a 43% Ari win rate?
Mostly because I believe that I position wrong and I go in on bad calls.
Do you make the calls or somebody else?
Somebody else.
Okay. So if I look at your Ari games, just a quick glance, your build seems adaptable, so that's good. I'm literally not even looking at any of the champions, just that you're changing your build, so that's good. That's a positive. Your CS, it seems pretty low. Okay, so like I see 4.2, I see 3, 5.5, 5.7, 6, 4.7, 6.5. That's really low CS per minute. So definitely you can work on your CSing. Um, definitely, because that's pretty low overall. But like I said, your build adaptable, so that's good. It looks like you're taking the right summoner spells. So we'll see what part of the issue is, I'm sure, as we go through this VOD. But really start looking at the things that you're doing on your own OPG, op.gg, because it's pretty easy to see what you're doing wrong if you relook at your history. So that was literally just as basic as saying, okay, my CS isn't good enough, so I should start working on CS. So how to work on CS? You can go into a custom game, 10 minutes, or not 10 minutes, 100 CS, only last hits, no spells, and see how many you can get. And count the ones that you miss until you get to 100. So if you miss 13, you missed 13 free CS out of 100. Um, it's a pretty important number to see. So we'll go ahead and start this VOD. And we'll start it the way that I do with all the VODs by comparing the team comps. So I'm going to rewrite them because I like them in order. This is Gangplank versus Vlad. Do you remember who was top in this game?
I had a Gangplank top,
Who was their top? Do you know?
Vladimir.
Okay.
And then mid lane should have been Diana.
Okay, cool. So if we look at the lanes, your bottom lane wins, mid lane wins, junglers, their jungler wins, and your top laner, their top laner wins. So this means that there should be a heavy focus on the bot side of the map, because this is the way that wins, right? You just let your top laner and your jungler scale. Well, you should be working with your bottom lane and your jungler if he wants to come with, um, to be able to win the game. And if it comes late game, these two scale kind of similarly. Mastery scales better. Draw a line here. Ari and Diana scale pretty similarly. Lucian and Ezreal. Ezreal outscales, but not by much. Or actually, yeah, kinda. And then I would argue Karma is more useful. So if you look at this, they might have a slight edge depending on how the game goes. Maybe. So just consider that when you're looking at your game, like, hey, who's gonna scale? When are our power spikes? Because if I look at your team, I see Ari, I see Lucian, and I see mid game. Right? Your carries are mid game. If I look at their team, I see Ezreal, Vlad. This is late game. These are the ones that are going to carry them. So you should be looking in the mid game to prevent them from getting here. Okay. To ignite. I see that you have a mastery page called Ahri. You should not have that. You should have a fresh mastery page every single game.
Okay.
And that way you will really start to learn what's good, what's not. Because like every game will be different. Okay, so you guys, looks like you fan out in a 5-point. Do you talk in voice here or anything?
In the VOD?
Yeah.
Not really. Maybe some size here and there.
Okay.
I mean, I might, but I don't really remember.
So you go alone here. Why do you go alone here? I know you can't see, but you'll see on stream in a few seconds.
Okay, yeah.
Into the pixel brush.
Oh, that's just something I do. I can't really explain why.
Okay, you have no benefit of being here.
Okay.
The risk reward of you being like, so if you walk here, and let's say they have like, thresh in this bush, right? Then you get hooked, you lose. You lose your summoners or something. You lose level 1. You're at a disadvantage. Or let's say it's Lisa in here, right? Lee's going to Q you as you go into the bush. You don't really gain anything by seeing this, because if they come here, your bot lane sees them. I'm on the map now, and then if you come this way, and you're over here, then you'll see them. One thing that I forgot to mention also is the way that I have to be doing these VOD reviews right now is with you probably watching the stream. That way you see that live, and then I just wait if I'm asking for input. That way you're not confused as to what, or like waiting.
Okay.
So you might just have to mute me in Discord.
Okay, that's fine. I'll do that right now.
Okay, cool. Until I fix my Skype screen here, this is my temporary solution. You go alone? Why do you go alone here? Are you duo with the Gangplank? Hey, Saikatsu. You have no benefit. The risk reward of you being like, so if you walk here, and let's say they have like thresh in this bush, right? Then you get hooked. Oh, that's me. Why am I echoing? You just at disadvantage. Let's say it's Lisa in here, right? He's going to Q. Let's say you're gonna have to lower the volume or push to talk your mic, because I'm echoing off your off your thing. One thing that I'm also the way that I have to be doing these podcasts right now is with probably watching the stream. Thank you. So because you were here, that's why that entire play happened. You went here, you got engaged on, and you also didn't flash. If you're gonna die, you should flash. In those big exchanges. But if you don't go here and you just guard right here, you'll be able to see them, and you actually won't cause all that havoc. And like the risk reward of you being there, like I said, it's just not worth it. You don't really gain anything from it. So a brunt of this will probably be in laning phase in terms of what I'm reviewing. So we'll just see what happens. So into the melee, you should not be pushing the wave. But one thing that you could do is you could be auto-attacking these casters right here to start getting them lower. It's called prepping the backline. And the reason that you do that is you can get these down to like 1 to 2 autos of health, and then you can just like Q it, and then if you do that, you have a guaranteed push, right? Because Diana is going to push, so it's just something that you could consider, because you're probably not going to do the zoning thing that I was doing earlier. So if you saw, one thing that you could do in this matchup as well is stand like way over here, and they're like way back here, and then you just like auto Q them, or just Q them, because that way you won't take these creepmen and aggros. Um, but when you give her all this space to walk up in, you should probably be looking to already have prepped this. Because now she just has lane control. You're doing good auto harassing her though. You wanna okay, so you want this once she has push, you want this to hold. So you want to hold it here. Instead of walking all the way back here, only walk like here. And that way you're tanking 3 minions, right? But now she has to overextend. She has to come literally right here to get any hits on the minion wave. So you can just freeze her out right here if you don't let it hit the turret. But it looks like all of them will hit the turret. Oh, one doesn't. So you have her in a really good spot right now because you're level 2 and she's level 1. And the wave, it's in a really, really bad spot. See, this is the minion lines. You should be looking right here in this spot or right here in this spot. Because you being all the way back here just lets her walk up like this. It just lets her, like, you know, get this creep for free. Lets her get this creep for free. Lets her Q this if she wants to. She can do whatever she wants, really, because you're not pressuring her at all. You have to look aggressive, especially when you're in a melee versus ranged matchup, and you're level 2 and she's level 1. You have a level advantage. Because what you could do is you could be denying this creep and this creep. And you could actually force her so far back that she misses experience from it. So again, I'm just going to repeat it, that way you see it in another instance. These 2 creeps just die, and you're just standing here. You need to be looking aggressive, that way she can't just get her free Q like this. Right? I know it's a little overranged. It's like that, but you're just giving her the lane, basically. You're not punishing the fact that she's melee anymore. You did level 1, but you're not doing it anymore. And you also didn't, like, establish any wave control. Start working towards that. It's good that you're going to help your jungler. You lose this now, though. So the second you miss your E, you lose. So once you missed here, you need to actually retreat because he could turn on you pretty easily. And especially after you miss your Q here, and you really need to retreat. These extra few autos right here could definitely get you killed. Or force you to blow your flash. So she missed her Q, so you should be looking like at her or just walking this way. You can go this way, or you can go this way. This is the better path. But if you go this way, you're gonna get by Lee Sin like you did, because you can see Lee Sin's over here. And you knew he was over here because he walked up here and this way. Or this way. But you didn't see him over here. So you knew he was still in this jungle area. So just thinking more about your pathing is really important. You could have also walked that way. But you walking this way is the greediest way. Or the second most greedy way. This is the most greedy way and the stupidest. That way and this way are the better directions. And this way is also dumb. But you can't do that one either. So there's no reason to do that one. But you just take free damage and you're just missing more time in lane because of the direction that you walked. So you took a while in base. Try to make your bases faster. And you built a Negatron first. There's really no reason to build a Negatron first. If we talk about builds now, the build that you should probably go this game is Lost Chapter. Let me change this from this to yellow. Probably Lost Chapter into Banshee's Veil, maybe into Morello's, but you don't necessarily need the Banshees. It's nice, probably good. Just depends on what you want to do. But Lost Chapter, Banshees, Morello's, and after that maybe like Ludens or Leandri's maybe. But I think Ludens is probably better in this case because Lee's probably not gonna be able to manage resist. Ezreal doesn't. Karma doesn't. After that, probably Void and then Rabadon's with Sork Shoes. He uses. But probably Sork Shoes around here in this area. But you getting this doesn't help you at all, right? Because you're against Diana, so her only sources of magic damage that should be hitting you is Q. Like, you should be able to dodge this. You shouldn't get hit by your W, so you're gonna dodge both these in the early game where it has impact, because otherwise, getting an Amtone is just better because you get more pressure in lane. Now, if they have an AP jungler that you're like getting camped by, or you're the Diana, then it's a different case. But you're the stronger early game champion, so you should not be building defensive. You should be winning this matchup. You should be looking aggressive. You're welcome, Uses. So I think that was like the first time you've actually defended a minion. When this minion died, or before it died, you shot out your Q. That was basically the first time you actually defended a minion. You didn't hit your the entire Q, but at least you did the concept. So start applying that more, where when they're going up to commit to a creep, like when she goes for this one, you should be looking to send out your E to her. I know it's 3 different lines, but if you do that kind of stuff, you will win more games, because this forces her to either take the minion or don't take the minion, right? But if she goes to take the minion, then you trade your E and then your auto and then your W, and by this time your Q will be up because you'll be chasing her because you won the trade. So she'll eat an entire combo if she goes for this minion and you're positioned properly. So your proper positioning should not be all the way back here. It should be like up here. So you should be looking way more aggressive. Again, you're winning this matchup. Diana's not even 6. She can't ult you. She can't get on you. Okay, so rewind that. We'll see where this goes wrong. Well, actually, it goes wrong all of laning phase because you're down levels because of this roam, which is a fine roam, but then you stay way too long and you have to base, right? So you have to base. And so all this time, you've been out of lane for like a minute and a half, roughly. Right? Diana follows you for like 25 seconds. So Diana has roughly a minute of extra lane time than you. So she's going to have extra experience. And that's shown here. You're not even halfway to level 6. And you haven't pressured her enough that you've mattered, right? So she's sitting at like 80% health. You're also at like 80% health. You guys can't have the same values if you're range and she's melee. Especially when the wave's been like in a good spot for you to be able to control, but you haven't controlled the wave either. So working on these types of things will prevent this death, because if you play the laning phase properly, you don't die here, ever. But let's say you don't play laning properly like you did. How does this play out? So you go for a creep, you go for a creep. Cool. That's fine. She's super far away. Awesome. You go to defend a creep, and she all-ins you. So when you're behind, you can't defend the creeps anymore, because she's just too far ahead of you, right? She's 6, you're 5. This level disparity is so important that you can't defend creeps. So don't defend the creeps. But the second she goes in, you don't charm. So you have to charm sooner, because you know she's all-inning you. And you don't potion. You need a potion, because your potion gives you effectively 20 health immediately, and then over the course of the fight, if it lasts a full 15 seconds, it's a ruby crystal. If it doesn't last a whole 15 seconds, then it's maybe half a ruby crystal. Maybe it's a quarter of ruby crystal, but that's a lot of health. So use your potion. Use your charm now, which is really late, because you probably could have prevented some damage by... So if you charm earlier, right, if you charm, then she's going to walk towards you, but very slowly. And then you're going to be able to walk away. And you're going to be able to create this distance where she can't hit her third auto attack of her passive proc. So you could have saved yourself from damage. And at this point, if you think you're going to die, you should already be using flash. Because there's no point in flashing when it's too late, right? So right now she's still chasing you, and you don't flash. You have to flash during this entire time, because this is like a whole 2 seconds where you could have flashed and lived, but you don't flash. You don't end up popping your potion, but it's way too late. So work towards those things in those exchanges, and just think more about what you can do and what the enemy can do. Because there, she could do more than you could do, so you had to concede pressure. But for all of the early laning phase, you could have done way more than she could have done. So you should be looking to apply pressure. Okay, so you're level 5. You're down at least a level. You should not be helping your jungler do red buff, because you're missing over 20 seconds of lane experience right now. And now if you look at mid lane, look at this giant wave that's crashing. That's like a whole 10 to 12 minions right here that are all right here. And the ones that have already died, which were a few. So now you're just falling even more behind in experience, and you should be useless for the entire game now. If the enemy knows how to abuse you, you should actually be useless for the next 15 minutes, which is effectively the entire game. Because most games are decided by 20 minutes. So your combo does like no damage to her, because you're so far behind in experience. She just has level leads, and you do nothing. And now your wave's going to reset in mid lane and bounce away. Sorry, not reset. It will bounce. That's really bad, because now, okay, you're still not going to lane. You're just missing so much lane experience. Dino will probably have 3 levels on you. You have to sit in lane, especially when you're behind, because you just miss way too much there. That's at least 3 minion waves. I don't know what that is. That's disgusting. Okay, so now you should be thinking to yourself, what should I be doing? I just killed my laner. Okay, I killed her. What should I do with this minion wave? Well, your turret's attacking, as you can see. You have more minions than they do, which means your wave's going to push. You need to hard push this wave into this turret, that way that you can base. So you get a base, and then it will reset back to you. So just like your wave is doing right now, your wave is pushing out, they're able to come back to you. So then you have lane advantage because you can control it by freezing it here, or up here, and you'll be able to decide what you want to do with the mini wave. Whereas she will have to overextend to come to the mini wave. She's ahead, but with your ult and now with that kill, you're at least somewhat back in the game. But you should actually never get that kill. And you miss more free CS. So this is where probably your CS numbers come in, because if you look, you're 30 CS at 9 minutes. This is 3 CS a minute, which for reference is between 54 to 60 gold per minute. And then to put this into perspective, this is 1 health potion of gold per. This is 1 health potion of gold per minute that you've gotten. So you have to really work on this number because you miss a lot of free CS, and like you being out of lane for so long made you miss a lot more CS. Just be looking to hard push this wave and base. That way it resets, like I said. Just use your abilities. Use your W to push the wave, get the CS. One small thing is you don't have to wait this entire time to get your mana. You can just go like right here, because by the time you're all the way back to base, this is 30 seconds and most of your mana will regen. And you can also just wait at the edge of the fountain. Don't waste here. Don't wait here because this is a waste of 2 seconds. Use a different color other than pink. Yeah, I've been using not pink for the most part, but when I need to clearly distinguish a different color, I can't like change the hotbar colors. If you see like right here, I don't think. Yeah, I can't like change the hotbar color. Okay, so by you queuing that wave, you just miss a ton of free CS because you're not strong enough to queue the wave. So just consider the amount that your abilities are going to do. And you probably just can't queue that. Okay, so this is again the same thing that happened earlier. You have to consider what she has and what you have, because she's level 8, you're level 7, and then she levels up, right? So you see her level up, which is kind of, well, actually it's kind of lucky. She levels up during it, but she's clearly stronger than you is. If you look at the health tick marks and your health tick marks, she has way more than you do. And she's a level up, so you consider that. And if you look at her items, which I can't, but you should know her items, she has more items than you because she definitely has more than 39 CS. So you can't really look to defend these anymore. Now you have to play like this, like you were. But early you should be playing aggressive, like I said. So you stepping up to get this auto attack, it's the same question that I posed yesterday. If I do X is auto attack. Is it towards my win condition? And your win condition right now is not dying. Is it towards my win condition? Which it isn't. And if it's not, or it is it worth the risk reward? Right, so what you effectively did to her, you effectively did 60 damage. Is 60 damage worth the all-in potential that she has? Because she will all-in you because she has QRW. Like, she didn't use any cooldowns for you. She's going to do this. You should assume she will do this to you if you auto her. Is this damage worth this? The answer is no. So you don't do it. It sucks conceding pressure, but you have to. Also ult earlier. Or just don't ult at all, because now it's on cooldown. So you rush to Banshee's Veil. Rushing Banshee's Veil is really bad. Don't do this. Because, like I said, you need the Lost Chapter. Or, Merlot's. But you need at least one of those. So, in this case, probably just one is just better. But if you don't get Lost Chapter, then you just have no mana, right? Which is so important because you have to look at your health and your mana bar as resources. So if you spend 20% of your mana and you do 30% of their health, is that worth it? Yeah, probably. You know, if you trade 10% of your health to hold a minion wave, right here, is it worth it? Yeah, probably, because you get to be able to control the minion wave. So start looking at these things as resources, right? And then buying this item doesn't enable your resources more. It just prevents you from being, like, engaged on. And that's not really that important. Because if you can't clear the minion wave, it doesn't matter if you get engaged on. So you walking up there is just really greedy without your ult. You're just trying to play like you're even or ahead when you're not. So you have to be playing way more passive. So right now, your team's win condition is to just stall the game. Okay, so you have to concede this turret. You have to protect this turret if you can. Protect this turret if you can. Protect this turret if you can. If you can't, drop them. Drop them. Drop them. Start protecting whatever you can. Like you guys are 8 to 11, but you guys are worlds behind. They have more turrets. They have they have pressure in every lane. They have way more CS. They have way more levels. You guys can't look to fight. You guys can't look aggressive. You guys have to just concede pressure, walk backwards, get wards when you can, and try to scale because even though they potentially scale harder, it's you kind of just have to pray that you scale well as well. And these are the reevaluations you're doing in your head. Like, okay, what is my win condition right now? How do I win this game? It's a good engage, good bait, good play in general. You guys get the turret back, so that's good. Okay, but so you see them get dragon. Okay, so you're here when they get dragon attacking this. Once they get dragon, you need a position over here. That way you can still auto attack this, but you can walk this way. Instead, you walk this way, which if you look, that's just really close to dragon, right? Because if they're walking up river, they're gonna cut this path. Like they will cut this way before they cut like this path, or before they cut this path and this like in river over here. So just don't walk on this quadrant basically, because if you look, you just have to think about this. If you're taking dragon, or if you're taking tower, and they're over in this area, you shouldn't be here because this is closer to you. You should be over here. And obviously you retreat that way. You don't like walk towards them. Just really greedy to walk that way. So you were in Lee Sin's range, so he could have engaged on you. That's fine. Really good. Good charm. If we look at your CS again, though, we're still at that 3 per minute. So we're at 53 at 15. So you really need to work on improving this number. Because, again, this is roughly 50 to 60 gold per minute. Which isn't very beneficial to you, really. You could blow that in health potions, like I said. Or, it doesn't permit you to buy wards. Good charm, then ward. It's unfortunate that bottom lane can rotate first, but all of their lanes won, so playing towards that is important. You guys have to ward your jungle, concede stuff. Don't be greedy for anything, really. I think this is a really good roam, but you walk in just really weird paths, so choose one direction and then commit to it. Because when you're walking around that corner, if you just stall between it, it's not as quick as if you just commit one way, even if it's the wrong way. It's a good second ult. So if we go back to that, you should probably ult sooner because you have to consider what they can do to you. Not just because it's Lee Sin Q, but it is important that it is Lee Sin Q. But when you get hit by Diana, you walk towards her, which is kind of greedy. But when you get hit by Lee Sin Q, you need to really consider what's going on. So first off, we know he's on the map because we see him on the map, and our AD carry is pinging him. But let's say we don't see him, which it doesn't seem like you do. You need to ult right before he kicks you. So it's not like, oh, prediction, but it is, because let's say he kicks you this way, you should die if he kicks you this way. So when you get hit by Lee Sin Q, you need to be ready that once he jumps here and then Qs you need to be ready to go this way. Because if you change your angle here, okay, so you R before he Rs, even if you're not trying to prevent his R, you're just trying to dissuade his R. So if you R this way, then he kicks you this way. And is that worth it for him to do? Probably not. He doesn't get anything by R'ing you here. But if he R's you here, because you don't react, then you're here and Diana's right here. So just start considering what you can do. Like, you can even probably R this way, but it's really greedy, because if you are there, you might be here, you might be here, depending on exact pixels. So this one's really greedy. The best potential payout, but this way is equally as good for you. So you have to be able to react to this and say, okay, here's my R. You flash the Q and R, which is very good. But still, you shouldn't be in this situation in the first place. Because you won't die if you understand what their champions can do and then actively try to counter what they do with what you can do. Good pick, good damage. Kind of greedy, but I think it's okay. So you held on to your last ult and didn't use it. If we relook at this fight, you get damage on Karma, you force her flash, cool. So now she's really weak. You should be warding over this wall. Here, because we know Dragon's up, and we know we want to fight for it. So if you have all this vision, all this information, it's really good. So you should start to look to use your ward towards what you guys are actively doing, or preventing what the enemy's doing. But we see they place a ward, and then we go over, and we catch Karma. This is great. Okay, so you should immediately EQW. You could R, but honestly, like, I personally wouldn't R here because you would expect to be able to kill her. I would expect to be able to kill her, but you're behind, so maybe you need to R. You guys get clumped on Diana. Cool. You need to be looking for Ezreal and for Diana at the same time. So if you Q there, like this, like you did, and W the second it's up, you should be able to kill Diana. But you need to be zoning him if you can. You're kind of low on resources. You have 2 ult charges. So what does this mean? You could R here and then R here. This zones him out. Because he's going to be looking at you, not looking to DPS your Master Yi. And Master Yi can do more damage, you guys win. Master Yi goes back in because he has to. But you don't help him. So if you are here towards him, he dies immediately. And Master Yi doesn't take this damage. And if Master Yi doesn't take this damage, he lives longer. And then he goes in on here, then he stalls, then you get away. But because you don't go in, you guys lose. And then your R just times out, right? Like, you don't use your R. And then you should die for it. So this is, again, like, what resources do I have? What resources do they have? And you need to use it. Because let's say Master Yi gets, 200 damage on Lee Sin there. He might win that exchange. Because maybe you hit a Q, maybe you hit an R damage somehow, maybe you hit W damage, all that kind of stuff. It all adds up. But the snowballing effects of one action are really big and really important to see. I'm quieter? I don't know why. I can turn me up. I'm slightly turned up now. Oh, I'm saying less? Yeah, I mean, because they're... I don't want to keep repeating the same thing to somebody. It just, like, bashes in the same point. Um, I'm just covering up what I think needs to be covered, what's important. That's honestly, alting there is fine. It's a little ambitious, but, like, you helping your team is really important. So if you ignite him, he dies. So just use your stuff. You already committed your ultimate to it, and that's, you should just be looking for that pick and kill. Starting Baron here is kind of greedy. Only Diana's down, and you guys don't really have a tank. Yeah, Kindy, like, if it's the same issue, like, I'll say it a couple times, but I don't want to say the same thing 900 times. Not because I don't want to say it, but because I don't think it's of benefit to just keep saying the same thing over and over. So you do a good job skirting. Use your ult off cooldown. That's awesome. Good job there. So yeah, if you're gonna build Morello's anyway, you have to build Lost Chapter first. It's too strong not to get over the Banshee's Veil. So since Vlad is just splitting, you guys don't really have anybody that can match him right now. You guys either need to like 3-man him, which isn't very viable, usually, because usually the team will get something across the map, or you look to just engage on the team, the rest of the team, because it's not like Vlad has huge split push threat anyway. If you guys kill Vlad, he might get a turret while you kill him, but if you guys kill the rest of their team, then you guys have way more map pressure. So like you see here, if Vlad was still pressuring the turret, like, and 3 of his teammates die, it's a lot more impactful than if Vlad dies. So Gangplank teleports bottom. That's kind of trolling, not gonna lie. Awesome flash charm. That works. Or charm flash, I don't remember what she did. But the only thing is, does that flash charm matter is what you have to ask yourself. If you kill Vlad, does it get you guys anything? Okay, wait. So this ward is a really good ward, but you did it wrong. So place this ward further out. Right, so you want to place it here instead, because then it catches all of this. It'll like cusp that as well, if that makes sense. So then you effectively get all of this because you see the areas here and the areas here, which extends the range slightly to like this. And you also effectively see this because even if this little hill blocks some of this vision, like this, here, let me redraw it. Your effective vision might be like this, or like, no, your actual vision. You place the ward like out here, might be like that. But because you see this and this, you also see all of this. So this is effective vision. And if you seeing the raptors doesn't really matter. You seeing this pathway matters a lot more. So definitely look to get a better board position there. You should avoid alting if you can. Cool. So you spent over 10 seconds of base there. Just try to speed it up. Make sure you know what you're going to buy before you base. And if you don't, just try to be quicker on your actions. Make sure you know where things are, or just how to get them. Using Rabadons is a really good way because you can just get to pretty much any item through Rabadons. via navigations. Awesome, good job. One way to get more picks like that is by buying more pink wards. And you've kind of had a lack of pink wards in general. And it seems like they have too, or else they wouldn't be making plays like that, I don't think, because they just gotten caught so many times. But definitely try to buy more pink wards as well. So right now you have to reassess your situation. Master U is low, you're low, and this guy's low, who I can't even see who that is. Nami's low. And you're at literally 50% health. Or so. They're at like 45% health. Master U is relatively low. If you guys chase into this, you guys are chasing into unwarded stuff. Unwarded stuff. Unwarded stuff. So they have vision advantage, which means you guys should lose. And you don't have ult, but your basic spells. Okay, so what does this mean? This means that you have to skirt this, just skirt the outside. Because if you go any forward without Master Yi, because he's effectively your tank, unfortunately, you're going to die. Because he's going to Q you, he's going to R you, you're going to die. You know, they'll double Q you, they'll do something. You just don't have the effective health to be able to walk forward. So when you do walk forward, it's really greedy. Because you're going into unwarded stuff, right? Like, you guys drop a ward, but you're going into unwarded stuff, and you do get chunked by an Ezreal Q because you go into unwarded stuff. And you get hit by at least in Q, because again, it's unwarded. So you guys chasing into unwarded territory is really greedy. And when Master Yi dies, you guys kind of just have to back up. Because he's effectively your tank. Which sounds really weird, right? But he's the one soaking damage for you guys. So you can't really go forward without ult. Can I explain what a tank is? Somebody who soaks damage. Preferably with CC. Okay, so that's just a waste of flash. Never flash if you're just gonna die anyway. Could try blocking that, or dodging it, but unlucky. You should be looking to answer top wave, and you should probably also base for Void Staff instead. But you really need, so you haven't really touched side waves at all. And side wave control is really important, because if you can get this pushing, so if you kill this, and maybe 3 more casters, then just these are alive, and these will tank some hits, and then you'll accumulate a really large mini wave here. And then this mini wave will push out. And it might end up like all the way up here with like 15 creeps. And this is important because then they have to answer these 15 creeps, because this is essentially another split pusher on your team. And this allows you to get pressure like warding Baron, going to Dragon, or contesting wards up here, because they have to answer this. Or you gain vision in this area, and you gain map pressure via turrets or just general turret minion killing. They also miss the experience. So you should be looking to set up side waves. You haven't really touched sideways at all. So really start to consider what map impact you can have via minions. Lucian is not happy. So, again, if we relook at the CS, it's really important to see that you're still 100 at 30 minutes. This is still 3 CS per minute. One way to help alleviate this is that minion control, like I said, by answering waves like this, because once this wave comes out like this, if it goes back to turret, it's just going to come back. And then when it comes back, you can just answer the wave, and then you get a ton of free CS. And this is severely stifling you. Because let's say you had more gold right now. Let's say you had 220 CS. Let's say on average, let's say you only get casters, and you only get 18 gold per CS. This is an extra 120 CS, right? From what you have now. This is a lot of gold. Like, this is a lot of gold. This is over 1,000 more gold. So at this point, you could have an extra, News Large Rod, right? Which would be plus 60 more AP. I think it's 60. But this is a lot of AP, and all this comes from your lack of CSing. This is silver. Man, I love Master Yi run at me skills. It's high silver. That was a good pick. Good job baiting vision. You guys should really look to get mid turret. Risking a 50-50 against Lee Sin is not good. This could also go top. It just depends on what you guys want. I think mid turret is more valuable here and better, but you guys definitely should not go for Baron, and I hope you guys don't, because it's really greedy. Your team just isn't good for Baron. Since they're respawning and you have no mini wave, that was the time that you should start looking to rotate top. Lee Sin cleared it, but you guys probably could have caught him on rotation. It's a good pick as well. Very good job. If Master Yi... Okay. So Master Yi has GA. Now you guys can look for Baron, because now you guys have 2 down. So if you look at the map, it's effectively a 3 versus 5. So if you look for Baron with your goal of turning, which turning means stop hitting Baron and start hitting them, you guys will win a 3v5. Assuming that Master Yi just tanks it with his lifesteal. As long as he doesn't tank, as long as you don't tank, as long as she doesn't tank, as long as he doesn't tank. So if only Master Yi tanks, you guys should win. Because you guys can turn. Because, like, Ezreal, he'll chip you guys a little bit. Ooh, that's not right. Ezreal will chip you guys a little bit, right? But probably not. Their support's Karma. Probably not going to do too much. And then their top laner is Vlad, who will come to you guys, and he has to come in aggressively to go into you guys. Then you guys just turn on these guys, and then you should be able to kill Vlad. So look for the Baron play, probably. I think it's fine. You guys have enough health. Oh, he has no smite. Maybe not then. Okay, so he says no smite. So once he says no smite, this is no longer good play. So he says it, which means no. Don't do it. It's not worth getting stolen. And another point with this is, especially if there's no smite, you need to save your combo. So you Q it, you hit W, but you just like don't do it at the right time. So if we rewatch again, understanding when you're going to do damage is important, right? Because Ahri's first Q doesn't do any damage, and you don't get any W's off really, and you just like do it at the wrong time. Your team needs to help you with burst damage, but you didn't really enable the burst damage either, so just consider that in the future. When you do your damage is important. But yeah, once he says no smite, it's a really greedy play. Don't go for it. It sucks, but he has no smite, so consider the resources that he has, and one of those resources that he does not have is smite. So instead of waiting out Baron, you guys can actually just fight when they go for a siege. Because if you guys give up an inhib, it's really, really bad. So try not to give up the inhib, and you guys should look to fight instead of just saying wait out Baron. Because Baron doesn't really give them any combat stats, and they have to come to your base to fight. And you guys should inherently win fights at your base. Because you guys can just walk back from fighting. You're not really pressured there. You did a good job with your ults, with your spacing in general. So before you do anything, you have to think, does me getting this matter? If I kill their Karma here, if I flash E her, does it matter? Yes. If I die, is it worth it? No. So it's probably not worth to do. I saw you looking over the wall, so that's what I was assuming. So does you going into that bush matter? What do you get by going there? The answer is nothing. If you're not going to sell your Dorans for Blessing Wand, which I personally don't, then you should at least get a potion. Potions provide a lot of power, especially during like Baron plays. So you should be looking to clear the wave and engage if you can. You should look aggressively for engages, but don't like R forward for the most part. So you do R, but you are just like really late. And if Lee Sin were chose to go for you, you probably would have died. But he suicides. And it looks like you're going to suicide. You don't. You get a very good charm flash off. Cool. You need to space yourself better from Vlad, though. So I'll see how this fight turns out, then we'll go back. You did a good job. Really good job for the most of this fight, though. So we'll go back all the way to the start, how this happens, to point things out. So we see Lee Sin, you get Q'd, okay? And he follows the Q. So at this point, you should be looking to R, right? This way or this way. As long as you don't go this way, this way, this way, you're pretty much good. Because, see, Lee Sin does this, and this is a bad spot. I don't know why he's here. It looks like he's going here for Lucian. Okay, but if you drag Lee Sin this way, he can't go for Lucian. So you have to consider what impact do you have on the fight once you get hit by Lee Sin Q. So once you get hit by Lee Sin Q, right, you shouldn't really be aiming to go towards your team, especially carry members, because if you saw the big play from Lyra, he caught Lee Sin Q on somebody, and then he went here, and then he war jumped, flashed, R'd, Oriana in, and it's like, whoa, how do you do that, right? That's really cool. But this is essentially what happened here, right? Like, you got hit by Q, then he war jumps here, and then he does this. So make sure you consider, once you get hit by that, you need to start immediately walking this way, because you need to get away from your carry. So see how it plays out. Lucian dashes, luckily. If he doesn't dash there, you guys lose. You still have all charges. Cool, that's awesome. Probably should use your alt instead of flash, but that's fine too. Okay, so here you start damaging Vlad or Diana, and you're hitting him. But Vlad's and Zhonya's right here. It's like, I feel like you forget about him because you like auto attacking her doesn't matter. You just need a Q and W. Like your auto attacks literally does like what, 80 damage. This doesn't matter. Q through Vlad, and then W, and then start walking this way, because you just stand like right next to him. You can see the spacing. It's really bad. Like there's no distance here. He will hit you 100% of the time, and you just wait for him to respawn, and then because you're so close, you also get it by Diana. Right, so flag gets out of the zone, and you're still in this range here, which is like this. And then you're still in this range, which is like that. So you need to be out of both of those ranges after you do your damage. Because once you do QW, then you have an E, right? And E is a further range. So now you should be playing off the E range instead of your Q or your W range. Because this is your effective ability. Well, Q and W are on cooldown. There's no reason for you to be up close and personal in this fight. Because the only way your team loses here is if you die. Right? Because Gangplank, he's going to be doing damage. But he can't tank and do damage, right? I mean, he can, but not really. You know, you can't really tank damage, so you need to be outside. You need to let him tank damage, and then you kind of draw pressure from him while Nami supports over here. You guys don't lose the fight, obviously, but the only way you guys do lose is if you die. So you dying is something you should avoid. Always, obviously. Well, not always, but for the most part. So Gangplank teleports again, which is trolling, to a minion. So if you guys all go for mid, you guys all get in him. But Gangplank doesn't go. So Gangplank said, I don't understand you sometimes. He says 2 turrets. Easy in him if you stay. I know, we are fine. Like, it's just making an objectively worse play. There's no reason to do that. So you're still sitting on 2k gold. You absolutely have to buy a potion. Because you have had no power increase for the last 5 minutes or so. Also, it's been another 10 minutes and you've gained 20 more CS. So you absolutely, absolutely have to be working on CS. If you're fighting in a place like this, always pop your red trinket. But if we rewatch that, you see Diana over this wall, and you know she's low, but you see her here. You see the rest of her team over here, and you see that Gangplank is low. You should be knowing all these things. You should also know how much damage Diana does. But you miss Charm, and then once you miss Charm, you go into her for some reason. So what benefit do you have by going here when Diana is here? Like, you know she's here. Like, let's say you don't know she's there. What benefit do you gain by walking into this bush? Nothing. Pop trinket, definitely, so you know nothing's in this bush, or use Q or something, but you absolutely gain nothing by doing this because they know you're here. Like, if you're trying to flank, they know you're going to flank like this if you're walking over here. So you walking here doesn't help you at all. So you have to really start recognizing what helps you win the game. Does this help you win the game, and is it worth risk reward? No. So don't do it. You guys get her, but, like, you don't have to die. Yeah, Gangplank is good at fighting in the jungle. But, like, Master Yi way over engaged. Yeah, I mean, there was no reason to fight there. Okay, so here you sigh. But this is good to look at. So so your AD carry dashes into Vlad, and you guys are again going into this unwarded stuff. All of this is unwarded. So going into this fight, you have a disadvantage because they have vision of you and you don't have vision of them. You're chasing into them, right? Like that's bad. Um, Lucian dies. He dies. Once you see them die, you can't be looking this way. You have to be looking to retreat because if you die, it doesn't matter. Right? Like, or sorry, if you die, it does matter. If you get this kill on Vladimir, does this kill matter? Is it worth the risk of you dying here? The answer is no. But first off, your jungler or your gangplank isn't here, so you walking forward is essentially a 1v4, at least. Ezreal did die, so it should be a 1v4. But you know they're all in this area. Like on the map, they're all in your bottom side jungle. So you walking into this fight with Vladimir is a 1v4. And then Lee comes behind you, and then you die. And this is probably where you guys lose the game. So that's on you and your team there, with the way that that fight went. Because there's just no reason to take that fight one, but there's no reason for you once that fight starts to not go. So what like you could have done instead is you could have came over here, your team engages, and then instead of going this way, let's say instead of here, you decide to go here, go around, and then cut this minion wave. So now they can't push to end because they don't have a minion wave. Or let's say you just wait here, right? And then you Q the minion wave when it comes up. That way you do damage to it and try to delay it. Because you saw, like, Master Yi, they all respawned, right? If you're alive there, you guys probably don't lose the game. So this greedy 1v4 doesn't help you. Yeah, just... There's a lot of other options you could do instead of trying to do that, especially when it's a 4v5 initially. Okay. So with that being said, I will add a few things here now. So, what can you work on? Definitely CSing. Your final score of this game was 129 at 420. That's like 2 to 3 CS a minute. So you really, really, really need to get more CS. And how can you do this? Well, like I said, you can go practice in the practice tool. And one hit per minion. Count to 100. And count all of the free CS that you miss. And then once you get to 100, see how many free CS you missed. This number should be getting significantly lower the more you practice it. Maybe you do one of these before you play a ranked session. You can also answer waves and set up waves, which you didn't do at all. So what I mean by that is, if you looked up here, they have this massive wave building. This is a slow push that they might have created purposely, they might have not created purposely. But if you purposely start creating slow pushes, then your waves will start pushing, and then somebody will answer here, or they'll extend all the way to the turrets, and then after that happens, the waves will bounce, and then they'll bounce large, and they'll be very big waves, and then you can collect those very big waves and get a lot of golden experience from them. So try to start setting up waves, as well as not missing free CS, and answering them. Like, you gave up a huge mini wave up here, like tier 80 carry, which is fine, but when you're 2.5 CS at 400 minutes, it's not fine. Sorry, at 40 minutes. What else? You need to understand what they can do and what you can do. Because this is really important. You could see this when Lee Sin was engaging on you over here. You didn't recognize that Lee Sin could make this play over to Lucian like this by coming to you and then going to Lee Sin. This is knowing what Lee Sin can do, and how you counter this is by knowing what you can do and prepare. So let's say Lee Sin hits you. Like I said, you walk in the other direction. You walk in this direction. That way he can't get to Lucian. Or, you, instead of trying to outplay somebody with your flash, try outplaying with R, because they're essentially the same thing. But this one has a significantly lower cooldown. It's a lot of small things you can do to improve your play that will look to improve. Or that you can look to improve that will cause you to improve a lot. And knowing what they can do and what you can do will make you die less and make you fall less behind in experience and all that kind of stuff. Because if you saw in laning phase, you didn't respect the Diana and you didn't play aggressively early enough. So this kind of encompasses all that, where it's like, hey, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? How do those mix, and how can I best abuse them in my scenario? You were watching the game where I was playing Cassio, I'm pretty sure. And you saw, I knew how much stronger I was in Echo, so I just punished, I stood in front, etc. Now, if he somehow got ahead of me, I can't do that anymore, so I have to respect that and get behind him. Or get behind my new waves and play more passively. And that's what you needed to do, because you were still trying to play like you were even, and playing way too close and not respecting the all-in potential of Diana. I guess map awareness, then everything else could always be improved. But these are like the biggest two things that I noticed across this game that you could look to improve. Definitely these two. Because everything else, you could always improve, right? Like, you can always improve your micro. You could always improve how you ward. Oh, I guess warding. So yeah, warding is really important too. Definitely add that on there. Use your trinkets, but you didn't buy any pink wards, so buy pink wards or control wards. But if you make a control ward, you make a more educated decision, which then plays towards this of what can they do, what can I do. This is like so important. Wards help you so much. Control these areas and move them up if you can in the early laning phase. But yeah, this is like the main bulk. I don't want to add too much stuff. Honestly, just ignore this. Don't ignore it, but that stuff everybody could always work on. These two were the biggest things from this specific video. And okay, so those were some of the negatives. What were some of the positives? You made a lot of picks. So this is important. And if you buy more control wards, you'll be able to do this better. If you, like I said, buy those control wards, you will control the areas. You will make better decisions right here. This directly impacts all of this. It's a two-way street. So once you improve on all this stuff, you'll get better at all the stuff that you did right. What else did you do? You generally used your spells okay and pretty well. You didn't necessarily use them at the correct times, like during laning phase, but during team fights, you were okay with your spells. Your positioning was okay. It was kind of poor in some of the fights, but like in general, you at least understood the basic concept of, okay, I'm a assassin mage, so I'm kind of this hybrid thing where it's like, if there's 5 people, 2 tanks, like this, something like this, you're like here-ish, rather than like all the way back here as Ahri. So that was good. You positioned okay overall. What else? You built properly, which is really big, actually. The only criticism I had was buying Banshee's Veil first, but other than that, your build is good, right? Like, so many people just build wrong, and you built pretty good, so that's pretty good. Also, you had pretty high kill participation. So if you look here, you have 29 kill participation out of 47, which isn't 100%, but this is a lot. And granted, there's a lot of kills, but it's not the worst. You definitely could work better, but you had a lot of fights where you hit everybody. You did your job. And sometimes just doing your job is important. You don't have to be the hero. You don't have to 1v9. You just have to do your job. And I think you overall did that. So I know you probably have questions. So what questions did you have? Is there writing behind my head? No. It only says map awareness and micro right there. And then probably should remind people to focus on one of these things at a time. It's good to see the big picture, but no one's going to magically get better after watching your VOD review. Yeah. So watching or making sure you're only doing one of these things, like working specifically on CSing, working specifically on understanding this, is better than saying, okay, I'm going to, just look to get better, and then spread yourself way too thin. So I'm going to clear this off. I think that's been out for a while. Thank you, Jen. Yeah, sure. What's up, Breast? It may or may not benefit him. Okay. When it comes to laning, how can you ensure you land more skill shots as Ahri? Okay, so rewind. Okay, well, first off, it could start here. So, here. This is his first big mistake in lane. He lets these, two of them, he lets these go into turret and they just die. He could hold this wave and freeze it, and Diana just loses if he takes aggressive steps and walks like this. And if he does that, he guarantees more lane pressure, which is effectively the same thing as hitting more skill shots. But if we go forward, we'll see, like, he does it a few times where he will Q when they're going for a CS, but let's watch. So, like, this creep right here. We're going to be watching this creep. Oops. This creep. Okay, Diana starts to go up for it. And we can see right here, you can see she's animation locked. Right, like she's stuck in this animation. Her character frames have moved. She's ready to auto attack. So when she's walking like this, you need to be walking like this, or like this, or like this, just anywhere in this area. That way you can auto attack and Q when she's at this spot, when she's animation locked. Because if you throw an ability, if you're in one of these spots, you are guaranteed to hit it. And yes, those are very short Qs, but you're guaranteed to hit this. Obviously they extend like this. But you will get this 100%, like almost 100% of the time. And if you don't get it, then you either one timed it wrong, or two, they conceded this creep. You can't even see the creep anymore. But like, they either miss this creep or they get hit by your skill shots. One or the other. That's how you hit more skill shots. So somebody who's really notorious, one champion that's really notorious on this is Syndra. Like you could say any champion, right? But Syndra, because her ability isn't like a projectile, whenever anybody goes for, let's say, this creep, right? You just throw a giant ass Q in this circle, and they have to get hit by it. So what are some steps I can take sure to make? What are some steps that I can take to make sure I don't run around the map and get lost? Stay in your lane. Have a purpose when you leave your lane. So know what your purpose is, and once that purpose is either fulfilled, changed, or moved, stop. Right? So like, you went into the jungle like this, and then you just like sat here. Like you just like sat here for like ever. And it's like, okay, well, my purpose was to help my jungler. My jungler got out. Okay, now I go back to lane. But instead, you chase their Lee Sin, which you are definitely not going to kill. And then, like, you came down to bottom lane to, like, roam or something. And then, like, you sat at red buff for, like, 10 seconds trying to help your jungler with red buff. Like, he can do red buff. And then, like, you're sitting down here, and you're not getting anything. You're not going to get anything. So you have to be getting mid because you have to be getting something. But yeah, know your purpose, know what you do, what you're doing, and what you have to be doing to win the game, or to win the next 30 seconds, to win the next minute, to win the next 2 minutes, and then obviously that extends to the rest of the game. But that's kind of how you avoid pointless roaming and pointless running around, right? Like, I think that even applies to like this over here, where you walk into this bush, right? Like you're just pointlessly walking at this point. Or not this one. This one. You see her. Like honestly, I would have just ulted over the wall, but that doesn't really matter. You don't. But like you're just like walking here. Like there's no reason to walk here. And this is just like pointless walking, right? You have to know what is my goal for this next fight. Is my goal to flank? Okay, if my goal is to flank, which I'm not saying it is, but if it is, and you see this ward that they just placed, well, now they know that you're here. So now you're not fulfilling your flank goal if you walk this way. You know, your goals could be as simple as, okay, not dying. This is a big goal, a big objective. You know, if you could flank, you could position properly, which this is definitely not proper positioning. This doesn't fit fulfilling. This doesn't fit not dying. You could even break this down to do damage. Do most damage without dying. Without dying is the key there. And this doesn't fit it. But generally, like, if you remove flanking, like, this should pretty much be your objective. Like, for the, like, these will always be parts of your objective. So you should always have these in your mind. And you're thinking, does me walking here, does me walking in here, does me walking in here fulfill these objectives? And obviously, like, you know, in the early game, it's a little bit different than the late game, but those are generally your late game objectives. Do you guys have any other questions? You can unmute, by the way. You don't really need to stay muted. What are other chances to capture the side wave, aside from shoving in mid lane? Okay, well, if you... So, you only catch side waves at like 15 to 15 plus minutes, right? And this is even being early sometimes. And like beyond this point, you're not really a mid laner anymore. Like the mid lane functions happen before before 15 minutes. Like this is when you are truly a mid laner, like truly a mid laner, because you should be sitting in mid for like honestly like this number goes like even down to like 6. Like you are in mid lane for like 7 minutes at max. Like at very 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 max. And like beyond this, you're no longer a mid laner. So once top lane goes down, right, you can start answering top waves. Because let's say you're playing Ahri. You want a 1-3-1. Right? So this means 1 in the top, 3 in mid, and 1 on bottom. Right? So like Gangplank and Ahri. Or let's say we can do GP Ahri. We can do GPE. We can do RE. But it'll like in this specific game, it'll probably end up where you are part of this. You are part of the 3. So you won't be answering sideways. And that's where you have to CS better in lane. But like your goal as Ahri a lot of the time ends up with you being on the side lanes. And your win condition generally, like for the most part, isn't you answering waves. That's not your goal. Your goal is to create picks, to move around the map, to make sure that you're doing the right thing. And it's like to catch squishies, right? That's your goal. And how you can do that, so if we put this as our primary goal, create picks, right? What are sub goals of create picks? Well, 1, ward. 2, deny vision. 3, set up minion waves. Right? Because you have to force somebody to rotate to you to answer your minion waves. Or pressure turrets. Or pressure objectives. This is how you create picks. All of these. So these should be your objectives. How do you do this in the mid game? Well, you could push top. Okay. You could ward their back all the way back here in their jungle. It's on the mini map if you can't see, or if you didn't realize. You know, you could create a slow push on bottom lane. You could decide that you guys want to take dragon and ward in their bottom jungle. There's so many different things that you can do. You just have to decide what you're going to do and how you're going to do it, and then actually do it. But like in this game, you didn't actively do anything. Like in terms of map pressure, you just kind of answered mid lane. Like you just like sat here. And if you just want to sit in mid lane, don't pick Ahri. You should pick like Ziggs or like some other hyper wave clear champion like Victor. But even those champions, they want to also set up sideways, because setting up sideways is effectively like an extra champion on the map. Normally, win condition as Ahri isn't catching CS. Yep, said that. It's using kit to wreck their squishies with lack of vision. Yep, said that. Standing areas have low vision, kill their squishies. Yep, pretty much. And how do you create vision? Well, you push, you deny, you ward, and you set up mini waves, and you pressure turrets, and objectives, right? So it's like literally this exact same list because it's the same exact question. Yeah, make sure you have the pink quartz. Definitely. That's all about you have? Cool. So I'll end this section